Hello there, it's Collette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I am here to speak to you about relationships. This is coming up massively in our collective as relationships that are in alignment with our soul's path and growth are very much the focus point for some of us. Many of us have had to leave some relationships behind or have had deep separations from those that have not been aligned to our path and that were aligned to it before. So there's quite a lot going on with regards to relationship, whether you're in one or you're out one or you're looking for one. And this is for those ladies who are looking for a relationship. I have been, away from my ex-partner now for over 6 months and feeling that space that's needed to lick the wounds and heal ourselves is really important. And I often see women just, not being aware of when a breakup happens, what it's trying to show them, the healing that needs to happen before they enter into a new one. Just being emotionally ready to date is about feeling very grounded, being self aware, and aware of the healing that was needed to be done from the previous relationship. Nobody's healed. So nobody enters into a dating relationship with somebody who's healed. That's just not possible. But if we don't heal certain aspects of the relationship we were previously in, we take them into the next. And that's not what we want to do. So there is a time and space that's needed to heal these wounds. Otherwise, you just end up back in an equally dysfunctional relationship or one with the same problems. So it's about really thinking, I want to enter into more healthy and fulfilling connections with men in the future. What were the things that came up in the past for me? And what went on in that relationship? What was it trying to show me? Where do I need to heal? And anything you want to project on the other is just medicine and fuel for you to come back to the place in yourself that allowed that or engaged with that or reflected that or was part of it. It's always about you, and that makes it a really easier place to come into more empowerment about rather than into victimhood or, just some like self story that you tell yourself. It's really difficult, but the emotional self care that needs to happen between a breakup and finding somebody else is really, really important. And I'm probably going to do another podcast on that to help those of you that are in that situation. But this is for those women that are looking to enter into a relationship and have done some work on their previous one and are thinking, I really don't want to end up in the same loops. I don't want to keep attracting the same men. So, first of all, from a psychoanalytical point of view, from a psychospiritual point of view, we're always attracting the opposite version of ourselves. So, for example, you're a woman and you will attract in your animus. So, when men come forward, they are your inner masculine. That how they are is the state of their inner masculine. It's not picture for picture, it's not identical, but you're grasping some concepts of their behavior. So if they're emotionally unavailable, for example, it may be that your animus, your masculine energy, is emotionally unavailable. Well, that's possible that you have a feminine part, which I do. So I'm animus driven. I have a very deep emotional feminine part of me. But when a man comes in who's unemotionally available, then I understand that my animus, my masculine counterpart inside of me, is emotionally unavailable. That gives me some food to be able to heal that inner animus in me that is emotionally, unavailable and why. And so all of the relationships I've been in the past, I've tried to use to heal me. And the current last one, the same thing, just looking at the things that were shown there in order to get a greater picture of the animus in me, the male energy in me, and what I've been dealing with. And especially with, the bigger triggers of if you're in a relationship now, of your partner and why are they triggering you? What's it triggering inside of you? What needs healing? So we always attract that. We attract the counter contracepts, the opposite. And that's a really good knowledge to go into a relationship with, because I know that many women who haven't done a lot of work on themselves are still into this blaming, blaming, blaming. Men aren't conscious, men aren't this, men aren't that. And that might be because your masculine energy isn't either. And that's the work for us women, to look at the male female energies inside of ourselves and what they're doing, how they're interacting and engaging and relating inside. And often it's a mirror of what's happening outside. So I realized that my, parts of my inner masculine is in much more need of help than my inner feminine. And she's working with him to do that now as a result of my previous relationship. So as we step forward and we go, like, I'm healed, I've read information that people say like 2 to 4 months per year that you've been with someone, it takes to get over someone. But if you're ready and you've had time out and you spent a lot of time doing some work on yourself and addressing those issues that you couldn't in relationship, that you can probably outside of, probably in a position that you want to start dating again. And one of the women I was advising the other month, we were looking at statistically that most people meet each other online now, and it's really sad, isn't it? I often say this, being in a country, I'm in France, and it's just very different from where I've come from and where I've been before. People seem to be less sociable. It's more like dining with people they know, even events a little bit more, less social. So I'm like, oh God, is in the future for me look like online dating again? Oh, but yeah, I mean, it depends where you are, what part of the world you're in, what is your life like? Are you engaged in activities and places that you would go to that your ideal man might come to? So I always share that information with women, like, where are you going? What kind of man would you like to meet? And where would he be hanging out? And, especially as spiritual women, we kind of want spiritual men, and you're not going to find them at the local bar. I mean, you might, but you've got to think of the environments in which you are hanging in as to where you're going to meet that kind of man. And I'm not saying spiritual circles are any better, because I know there's a whole rife movement of bypassing and abuse in those circles. So it's just finding those places that resonate with spirit, with creativity, with all the things you might like in a man that would attract them. And then when you're at the dating point, you've decided who you're dating and where you're going to do that, there comes a place where women in the past have been very naive. We kind of enter into dating quite naively, and we're not really clear on what we want. We might say, oh, we want him to be spiritual, we want him to be like, working on himself. But are we really asking the right questions? And so the other night I had a pang of inspiration, being, now a single woman with more time, as to write a series of questions that are important for women that help them dating, to have a list of boundaries, to have a sense of what they want and not be frightened to ask for it, and to just stop wasting time. There's one woman I was guiding who'd been on very many dates, and basically was taking lots of dates to get to main crux questions. And she could have saved herself a lot of time actually by asking those questions very early on. So it's about being conscious. It's about being conscious of what questions are important to you, what things are important to you. And I think first of all, you start by writing things down. What kind of man are you interested in? What attributes should he have? What things are green flags for you, and what are red flags? So, for example, if you don't like a man that smokes and you don't like smoking, then that should be question number, whatever it's going to be in the early ones. Then you go on a date and he's there smoking. You're like, sorry, I don't date smoking men. So, how early you're going to ask that. And I think you've got to be conscious of that. For me, I was advising that, if you're on a dating site, for example, that the most important, like, fundamental absolute no's are sorted out before you even exchange numbers. So, what are those prerequisites that you want to know before you even exchange a number with? Because your time's valuable. You're valuable. You've got to see yourself as high value. And letting a man enter into your phone number space where he can actually access and message you that you don't have control of, like you do with the social apps that you might be on, this is key. Like, when are you exchanging numbers? What amount of questions have you asked? Is that man worthy of your number? And then when the number comes and you're texting or messaging each other or phone, that's a thing for me. It's like no voice calls yet because there's still some important questions I need to ask. And then it's once those are answered, then you can go into more communication, voice calling, meeting up, but there should be a whole conscious approach to it. When do I exchange numbers? How long do we talk for? What do I need to find out about this person before I then voice call? Then in the voice calls, what do I want to ask him? What do I need to get to know from those voice calls? And then before the first date, what is it worth the first date? Is this man meet my prerequisites? Does he have the things that I'm looking for? I think this makes us really much more empowered as women. We are then not wasting our time. We are not being played around, all of those things. And I think it's up to us to start to be in more charge of this. I had it with a woman I sent these questions to, and she said to me, "Oh my God, these are just going to make things much more clear for me." And yeah, I've kind of not had these boundaries going into the call, and these just tighten up what I want. And it wasn't that she wasn't meeting nice guys, of course she was, but they just weren't really in alignment. And this is going to tighten that up for her. So if you're at this point where you are dating, where you are wanting to meet men, I'd really get super crystal clear about this. And I have devised a PDF that you can get off me for free by just, I'll put a link under this video that you can look at these questions and anything else that, you might be struggle with in the dating. If you've not been dating for a while, why? If you're having really awful dates, why? We can make all this conscious. We can make the places in us conscious that are blocking relating, that are unhealed and not allowing relating, that need work on. And this is something an area I really love to work in because I believe this is super connected to sacred sexuality, is that holding sacredness about ourselves and not ego, like, oh, these men aren't good enough or they're toxic. All of that is not sacred sexuality. We have to be aware as women that we have got a lot of wounding to heal, and so have men. Can we hold space for men in healing? What amount of space do you want to hold? What are you capable of holding? Where are you at that sums up where they're at? It's all that kind of stuff. So opening up any time that people might want for one-to-one sessions with this. I can support in getting you to answer your own questions and bring your own answers through, but finding the parts of you that might be blocked or stuck in loops is the key for me. So I don't have the answers, but I do have the tools to be able to provoke the understanding from your own self about the loops that you might be in or what might be holding you back as we guide you into the spaces, into the unconscious content. So if you'd like to do more work on that, then, feel free to contact me to arrange a one-to-one session. But in the meantime, I hope these questions provide you with rich ground in which to hold yourself in your wants and desires and dreams for relating. So take care. May love find you. But remember that you are love. You hold all the love, all the feelings of love live in you, and you just need the matter to project that onto, and vice versa. That's what it's really all about. Love doesn't, it's not an external job, it's an internal job. It already lives within you. Bye for now.